few things have been more consistent with Payday 3's life cycle than the fact you'll always be let down.
They still don't know what to do with the gameplay loop. This game's bad.
The devs appear to be prioritizing paid DLC over fixing the game.
Starbreeze? Is it really that time again? Well, I guess it's only been 4 months, but the script in that video was heavily outdated. Regardless, welcome to hopefully what is not the last yearly wrap-up for Payday 3. A lot has changed since my initial review back in August, including 6 new heists, 14 new guns, 2 new skill decks, and tons of other smaller changes I'll be going over and rating in this video. After that, I'll be talking about more in-depth subjects, such as my biggest critiques with the new heist, the good and bad with Starbreeze's attempt with Operation Medic Bag, and me once again going on my hands and knees and begging the studio to stop comically stepping on the rakes of poor game design. It's also worth noting that I'll be glossing over mostly everything I went over in my general review for Payday 3, so make sure to check that out if you think I missed something in this video, since I probably talked about it there. But before we get into the veggies of this video, I do ask for you, the viewer, to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Please, I've spent too many hours playing this game. YouTuber stuff aside, let's resume this ongoing story within Payday 3.
This is a journey into money.
Just as a short recap, after being forced out of retirement due to a surprise attack, the now much smaller Payday gang begins to wreak havoc upon New York City in retaliation for said surprise attack, connecting with new and old friends alike in order to fuel their revenge tour. These were the core 8 heists that were mostly centered around finding information about the new shadow group that teamed up to take down the Payday gang. And after identifying 2 big players in this group with Patricia J. Shark and Ralph Garnett, we successfully hid their assets and exposed their dirty secrets to the media, eventually resulting in their assassination by the true man behind it all, Concord. But before the gang is even aware of Concord's existence, Shade discovers drone combat data within the Shark files we stole a while back, tracking the files down to the Scry Digital Data Center, where although the gang isn't too interested in the drone data itself, a certain buyer we all know is. And by following the Payday gang's horrendous track record when it comes to giving dangerous technology and weapons to the highest bidder, it's no surprise that the Payday gang are eager to get their hands on this. This opportunity leads us to the first DLC heist for Payday 3. Syntax error. As Joey said in the cutscene, we'll be hitting the Scry Digital Data Center in order to find the hidden drone data in their server room. We start by finding the code to the basement door and disabling the metal detector in stealth, where, after heading downstairs, the Payday gang finds the latest cutting-edge security system protecting the basement, an AI-based security program called SINS. But, for as intimidating as this AI system is made out to be, all it really does is have a neat little voice while controlling the cameras in the basement, which unfortunately makes killing the security guard up top a waste of a pager. Regardless, once in the basement, our task is relatively simple, as we just need to find a way into the 5 server rooms marked A through E, with 2 servers in each room that are able to be obtained for scanning. But only 3 of the 10 servers have the drone data we're looking for, where a nearby computer in the cooling center locked by a red keycard can tell you what rooms the drone data is in by seeing which emails talk about anything drone related for each server room. And once you pinpoint which rooms have the drone data, or if you're just like me and just loot every single server since this heist has a really good payout, you then have a variety of ways to break into each server room quietly. If you found and used the red keycard to hack the computer in the cooling room, it can also be used on the other side of the basement to enter the AI control room, where door controls to unlock each server room can be found. It is important to note that only one door can be opened at a time, so make sure you have some basic coordination down if you're playing with other real heisters. The other 2 ways to breach into the server rooms being to find a QR code to directly enter a server room, or by using vents in the basement to platform in each server room, where there's a conveniently placed power box inside to power off the door locks. And after grabbing the servers while dodging drones, guards, and cameras, make your way to the front area of the server room to decrypt the server to see if there's any drone data located on it. And once the 3 servers containing the drone data is decrypted, simply take the new drone server and secure it in the van waiting outside, while also grabbing any additional decrypted servers for a larger payout if you're up for it. But if that's too much to handle, there's always the loud option, forcing a way into the basement where, unfortunately, SINS has completely shut down each server room, meaning the only way around it is to force SINS to shut down. But this AI is a lot smarter than it appears to be, preventing its own shutdown protocol, forcing us to turn off its cooling to force SINS to shut down, having to do this a total of 2 times to finally open up the entire basement. From here it's mostly the same as stealth, taking servers and decrypting them to find the drone data. But once all the data is found, Shay lets us know that the Scry building has way too much heat on it at the moment, saying that we're gonna have to create our own exit. Luckily, some explosive charges were hidden in a nearby elevator before the heist, grabbing and planting them on a wall by the control center and blasting our way to a very empty venue, where from here simply just call in bio with a flare, secure the servers, and escape. Overall, Syntax Error is a very solid DLC heist, especially on stealth where this heist really shines. Unfortunately, I can't help but feel the large amount of missed potential with Syntax Error, especially in Loud with a really cool idea of making up your own escape, just to end up in a laughably desolate and boring area for a final stand. And you'll see this time and time again with the rest of the Loud DLC heist, but my feelings on this really deserve its own segment much later on in the video. I'll give Syntax Error a solid B tier. A solid showing for a DLC heist with great ideas, but unfortunately bogged down due to poor execution. In the next cutscene, we get a nice call-in with Locke, who talks to us about the drone data we just robbed, noting how familiar the design is, causing him to do some digging and saying that the design belongs to an up-and-coming defense contractor called Treaty. This group doesn't ring a bell for anyone in the Payday gang. That's because of how new the company is, with Locke revealing that the CEO of Treaty started the company after his old company went belly up. This company, which he also was the CEO of, was fucking murky water. And this person is none other than John Concord. The Payday gang instantly clock him as the one behind the show, with Shade instantly putting out a line on Concord and already starting to dig up anything they can find on him. This transitions perfectly into the next cutscene, with our old friend Vlad reaching out with a proposition, letting us know that he has vital information on Concord, but will only give it to us if we do a job for him. It turns out that Vlad found himself at odds with the corrupt police captain, with Vlad's legal cash for gold business having drugs planted on it during a raid, causing Vlad to lose out on a lot of gold. All Vlad wants is for us to hit the police station with his gold, and to take it back in exchange for the information on Concord, who conveniently has a lot of damning messages to this corrupt police captain, but right as the Payday gang accepts his job, another familiar face reappears.
Clover.
Is that Dallas? Fucking yeah, it's damn good to hear your voice.
Off topic, but this whole hit on the Payday gang is ending up like another Order 66, with this apparent super deadly and devastating attack that only left 5 members left, is slowly going to reveal that like 80% of the gang lived by the end of the game's lifespan. I know it was just a convenient way for Starbreeze to write out any heisters in Payday 2 that they don't have the license for or whatever, but hey, fuck it. At this point, just bring back everybody. Mostly Jacket though. I miss my chicken, man. We're so fucking back. Now with Clover rejoining the gang and the next job decided on, the Payday gang gears up for a second DLC heist, Boys in Blue. This heist is thankfully the most straightforward out of the DLC heists, and just to spoil it, my personal favorite out of the 4. For stealth, there's a lot of ways to get to your objectives, either masked up or maskless, something that Starbreeze still thankfully upholds within the new heist. Our goal is obviously the evidence room hidden through several layers of security, with the first step being to sneak into the second-story offices of the police station to locate the police captain's office. What we specifically need from the captain's office is your computer, so we can know which specific employee has access to the evidence room. But before we can access their computer, we need to get the police captain out of their office first, where you can just take them out there or use some pre-placed donuts found in the lobby and place them in the break room. This is actually my preferred method, as the cops will swarm to the donuts like flies, allowing you to have much easier access among the offices while you continue the heist. Once you have open access to the captain's computer, a short hack and delay later will get you 2 vital pieces of information: the name of the employee who has access to the evidence room, and where the red keycard is hidden. Alongside these 2 new tasks, Shade also offers us a chance for some extra cash by bugging the corrupt police lieutenant's locker, office, and car. Luckily, these new objectives are all relatively close together, with us being able to find and bug the lieutenant's office while looking for the employee's desk that was named at the captain's computer to yoink their fingerprint. Head downstairs and into the locker room using a QR code to find the red keycard in the noted locker, and bug in the lieutenant's locker while you're there. Head outside in the front to bug the lieutenant's car before sneaking to the back of the first floor to find your way to the evidence room. And as long as you have the red keycard and the correct fingerprint, you have easy access to Vlad's gold, with the only problem left in your way being the pressure plates in the hallway entrance to the evidence room. A gate will close if you're holding a bag, forcing you to use the checkout hatch to transport Vlad's gold and some extra sellable contraband if you're up for it. From there, you just have to take these bags to the far side of the car lot in the back, where the van will be waiting for you to throw over the bags across the fence. But that all sounds like a lot. I mean, who really has all this time to go through all this hacking and distracting when Vlad already has an impounded van with smuggled explosives inside? Loud cuts out all the stealth bullshit, the way the Lord intended, blasting the wall directly next to the evidence room vault and hooking up a winch from a nearby tow truck, hooking it onto the vault door to peel it off. While this process is happening, make sure to keep any cops off the tow truck, while Shade offers you a way to make some extra cash, much like how she did during stealth. As when the alarm went off, a stream of confidential police files began being backed up, with Shade wanting to tap into those files to sell to Vlad. This is really the only similarity to stealth besides the loot we're after, with us having to once again hack the police captain's computer, place a USB drive in the server room, and reroute the hack for some extra cash. Back to the slowly peeling vault door, and it becomes very clear that the winch is going to need some more juice, with there likely being a nearby generator in the garage and the car lot. And once you clear the way for the generator, the now juiced up winch won't take too long to peel the door apart. And once our spare key to the evidence door finally works, raid the evidence room like you would during stealth. And once you have everything all backed up, Shade lets us know about a devious escape plan she's thought of, where she wants us to use a reinforced DLC van in the garage as our in-house escape option, where all you have to do is slowly lower it, get your bags in. Ah shit, we forgot the keys. The car keys can be found in 1 in 3 safes in either the captain's office, lieutenant's office, or the speech room, whatever the hell it's called. Only one safe has the car keys, with the other 2 having some delectable corrupt cop money, which is also available in stealth if you want some extra cash. And once you get the engine started and all the bags secured, you can finally get the hell out of there. Boys in Blue is such a solid heist, man. It delivered everything I wanted in a new heist for both loud and stealth. My only notable issue with this heist, mostly just being some unfun parts in stealth that can really build the time needed to complete the heist, especially in overkill stealth. Still an amazing all-around heist though. Easy A tier. In the next cutscene, we surely catch up with Clover right as Shade finishes decrypting the messages Vlad sent us, discovering that in retaliation for the Scry hit, Concord has been behind the scenes working to get an inmate's court date pushed up to sentence him faster, most likely to try to land them in one of Concord's many private prisons. And after a short breach into the prison's database, it's shown that Concord is going after
What?
Dallas, oh no.
Dallas's little brother, Houston.
Get the fuck.
So, with a fun homage to Payday 2's Heister Breakout, the next DLC heist is, quite obviously, Houston Breakout. The marketing for this was actually pretty funny to see in real time, but with the heist going to take place entirely in the Supreme Judicial Court in New York City, hopefully this heist can live up to one of the most iconic heists from Payday 2. When first spawning in, we are met with an immediate obstacle and a metal detector blocking our path, with there are only 2 ways to disable the metal detector, either being to find and disable the color panels like in No Rush for the Wicked and Golden Shark if you wish to stay maskless, or quickly masking up and using a vent in the bathroom to quietly take out the metal detector with a suppressed gun. However, if you're doing this heist solo, I heavily recommend trying to do this one maskless, as the core building is full of long hallways with little cover and tons of civvies all over the place. So unless you have some buddies with you, or if you just really like crawling good vents, just use the panel to shut off the metal detector. And once you're past it, we need to make our way into the courtroom, where we're going to need press passes to be allowed in, so make sure to look around in the public areas until you find 2 news reporters with press passes on them to yoink. This would now allow the cop guarding the courtroom to let you in, where Houston is stuck in a guarded cell with his hands wrapped up and a mask stuck on his face after he, disagreed with the judge's decision. The other thing we're looking for is on the wall next to the judge, where we can see when the prosecution will present either physical or digital evidence, letting us know what rooms to go after. But right at the same time, we also need to find some blackmail on the judge for an objective later on, where Shade instructs us to sneak into the judge's private chambers, where a quick computer hack shows evidence of him fooling around with one of the court clerks. Keep whatever name pops up in mind, and crack the nearby safe to find the USB of this evidence. However, with the evidence being locked via encryption key, we need to sneak back to the court clerk's office, using a QR code for access and finding which computer belongs to the name listed in the judge's computer. And once that hack is done and the keys are found, it's time to find either the evidence or server room, depending on if physical or digital evidence is being used against Houston. What you'll need to access either room is random for each run, with it either needing a code, keycard, or fingerprint, where there's usually a clue of where you can find said item. And once you follow said clue or wait until the game just points out where you need to go, you will need to find the exact piece of evidence or server containing Houston's file, where after you eventually find it, it's now time to use the blackmail against the judge, where Shay will point out a random telephone that you can use to directly contact the judge.
Hiya, Judge. I'm looking at a little video here. Seems you're doing some hot yoga with one of your clerks. If you do what I say, all this goes away.
With the blackmail being very effective, Houston is led back to his holding cell, following him to the basement where you need to find either the code or a button to open his cell. But right before you can free him, we unfortunately have to reuse an objective from Boys in Blue, having to grab a box of donuts in the jury break room and placing it down in the security room downstairs to distract the guard so that Houston can freely walk out. Escort him to the garage, open said garage gate to let Twitch in, and secure the evidence against Houston as well as any other additional pieces of evidence and escape. That is a pretty damn well detailed stealth plan, but fortunately and unfortunately, Loud is a lot more straightforward. Once the alarm is raised, the courthouse will go into a complete lockdown, where Shay would then point at 3 electrical boxes to hack to override the shutdown. Once the courtroom is open, Bio will fly over to drop a thermal lance into the courthouse so it can buzz open the door to Houston's court cage. This of course needs 2 oxygen tanks for full completion, where they can be located in the van in the garage, unless you use the favor to have them be in the jury break room instead. And once Houston is out, we have to slowly escort him through the rotunda due to his hands being all messed up, where once you make it to the center, Houston will rappel up thanks to Bio. All that's left is the evidence against Houston, where, once again, look for either digital or physical evidence and enter the correct room to find and secure Houston's evidence. Or you can use an EMP or some handy flammable liquid found in the van in the basement to destroy it at the cost of a reduced payout. And after securing or destroying what you need, you're free to leave at any time. Houston Breakout is one of the more frustrating DLC heists, with it having great stealth pathways, yet with the sauceless Loud alternative, especially when comparing it to Hawks and Breakout. But like I said with Syntax Ever, my big problems with these new heists will be covered in its own segment. Houston Breakout lands on low B tier. With Houston back and Concord's plan foiled, we learn more about Treaty in the next cutscene, seeing how Concord's new version of Murky Water makes their money. However, Treaty isn't on the same level as Murky Water yet, and the Payday gang wants to use this to their advantage, as Joy and Shade see that Concord is taking out some risky loans with big companies to expedite Treaty's growth. This is where we're gonna come in, and since all of this money Concord is funneling is all digital, it means that the Payday gang is headed to Wall Street for the final DLC heist of Year 1. Fear and Greed. This heist is a lot different than the others, with the first immediate difference being that we're already messed up, as with the Payday gang's recent escapades, the entirety of New York is on high alert, meaning that we have no time to do some massless window shopping. We start on the roof where we're informed that guards have already been sent to investigate the area due to the disturbance we've made. And while making sure to dodge them while dancing to literal cam hell, we're tasked to find a zipline in a nearby vent, finding a log power room to turn off the power to a nearby elevator we can find by following some colored pipes to find the now powered off elevator shaft. We have to go through this little dance just to get inside the damn exchange, where Shaden instructs us to find the offices for either Jordan Investments or Swap Meet. And once you find either office, it'll require finding either an RFID tag found on a nearby admin desk or a QR code from the phone of a trader to enter. And once you do find and reach a correct office and maybe turning off a secret alarm that can happen with Swap Meet, Shade highlights a computer to hack that requires transaction files found in said office to finish the hack. You also need to crack this safe to find a USB drive needed to transfer the exchange's money to accounts Joy has set up. Once everything is good to go, head down to one of the trade booths and plug in the USB, where Shade then sends us to find the transfer control room that needs a red keycard to open it. This can be found on a nearby CB trader in an isolated room usually, but whenever you get it and enter the control room, you'll need to plug in the USB to start the transfer. But since this whole operation reeks of fishiness, we'll need to shut down some circuit breakers on the trade floor to bypass any failsafes. Where we have to find the correct trading booth listed in the control room, sneak the said control booth on the floor, and crack open a panel and tamper with it to reveal a code to type back in the control room. This can be a bit tricky with the amount of civvies there are and the amount of slight cracks I can see you through, so make sure to keep your head on a swivel. This task needs to be done 3 times, in which, by the time anyone realizes what's going on, the damage will be fully done, with Concord and Treaty now being left bankrupt. We aren't finished however, with Shade wanting to do one final stunt of using a stash EMP bomb and detonating on the trade floor to completely shut down the market. From there, we only have a limited amount of time to race back to the elevator we came from, zipline back up, and dash to the helicopter to escape before the cops arrive. Stealth is honestly pretty cool in Fear and Greed, and it honestly is quite the challenge on Overkill. That is, unless you use the favor that spawned inside the exchange maskless, then it's a damn cakewalk. Regardless, Stealth is once again super solid here. It's just a shame that this is yet another DLC heist that drops the ball on Loud. Alright, so starting on the roof once more, going Loud is exactly the same, scarily so. Find zipline, power room, breach elevator, rappel down, find the office shade needs, hack computer, transactional paper, safe, plug in USB, wait, what? What the fuck? Why is Loud exactly the same as Stealth, like the exact same objectives? Breach a transfer control room, find the booth needed, circuit break, I mean like, I guess it takes super long now? Do it 3 times, EMP bomb, detonate it, head back to the roof, but hey! There's a whole new objective here. Using the crates in the power room to find a stashed satellite dish and transmitter, hooking it up to control a nearby crane to bring over a shipping container to be used as a bridge to a nearby building as Bio can't come in with all this heat. I mean, it is pretty cool, but you can't just have the exact same task as Stealth, then just one brand new step at the very end and call it a day. This unfortunately drags the overall heist down, but I still admire what Starbreeze tried to do here for a finale, so I'll place it in solid beats here, just due to pity. And that about wraps up all the DLC heist. The final cutscene is just the gang once again gloating in victory as the general public is left shocked at the Payday gang's return and audacity. And as the gang presumes that Concord and Treaty will fall into ruin, we unfortunately haven't heard from Concord directly since his final cutscene in Touch the Sky. I do think it's a shame, as I kind of enjoyed seeing Raph and Shark scheme behind the scenes, but with the Payday gang already on fire, it's quite clear that the future story is going to primarily focus on their next exploits, as the gang now hopes they can strike red hot in the upcoming year. Oh wait, I don't have a clean segue to the next segment. Thankfully, the DLC heists are the only new addition to the game in year 1, but since I spent so much time on just 4 heists, I'll make sure to add much shorter comments for the remaining new content. Starting with the new heist added around late August is an entirely free heist called Diamond District, a much shorter side hustle that you can tell is heavily inspired from 4 stores in Payday 2. The task is to take as many diamonds and jewels as you can from 5 stores, and it's honestly pretty fun and stealth, with Loud being somewhat enjoyable, if not bogged down because of Starbreeze's ingenious police AI. Where is everyone? There's supposed to be a final charge and there's like no one. Jesus, I can't believe I glazed this in my other videos. Overall, a simple and enjoyable heist, although nothing special. B tier. And just earlier this, or last month on December 10th, is a grand re-edition of the First World Bank heist, which has now been included in every Payday game. I don't really need to go in detail with this one, as it's just a clean remake of a legacy heist. Although I will give some props to Starbreeze, as instead of shuffling an obscene amount of bags through vents and into a garbage truck, they're thankfully now just secured in these money transfer boxes or whatever, saving us the worst part of Payday in general, bag throwing simulator. And of course, with Payday 3's great stealth mechanics and adequate at best Loud mechanics, First World Bank Payday 3 Edition goes into A tier. Quickly moving on to the 2 new skill decks, Fortitude is all about health and giving additional buffs for Adrenaline, or basically overhealing as shown when taking a medkit at full health. And although this is a cool addition and adds a new type of build to the game, it does unfortunately rely on health, a resource that is better spent investing in armor, since, at least for now, Armor 2.0 has been delayed to spring 2025. This pushes Fortitude down a high C tier, at least for now until we see how Armor 2.0 will affect the meta. The other new skill deck being Assassin, a stealth Loud hybrid that grants bonuses and incentives for using suppressed weapons, such as rush bonuses, faster movement speed for using suppressed weapons, and even a damage boost and giving health/adrenaline bonuses for low armor builds. Honestly, super cool and interesting for both sides of the game, although with the mastery skill and kill to kinesthetics being super niche, it lowers Assassin down to low A tier. There is also an entire new enemy added to the game known as the Techie, a girl drone operator that hides in corners during Loud heists and controls 2 types of drones that are really just slightly pester you. These 2 drones she controls being drone with gun that shoots over bullets, and a drone that charges a blast that can cancel any modifier you have. How threatening. The Techie doesn't really add much to the game, and her hide and seek skills suck ass most of the time. Honestly, just another case of a cool idea executed poorly. Low C tier. Alright, now on to the other new pieces of equipment. The new shot grenade is really neat. The best way to deal with shields and large groups of enemies easily, as this grenade is great for chain kills. The main risk that comes with a shot grenade is if you stand too close, as yes, electricity does not discriminate against anything touching it. Low A tier. There's also a new tool with the trip laser, and honestly, there isn't much use to it. The motion sensor is more useful in like every single way, and Starbreeze has yet to really make marking cops even slightly useful at all. Low B tier. And lastly, a whole brand new overkill weapon, the M135 Argus minigun. Is it Argus or is it Argus? Sorry if I mispronounce it. This is the definition of an overkill weapon. 750 highly inaccurate bullets to shred any cop that dares to blink at you. However, at the cost of using this behemoth of a weapon, you'll be over encumbered if you hold it, forcing you to not only walk slowly, but also not being able to interact with anything without dropping the minigun first. This is actually able to balance out the Argus fairly, as although you could argue that this is the best overkill weapon, it really does force you to be an enforcer and just a clearer path for your buddies. Also, the Red Fox still exists. Still enough upside to land in A tier. And there we have it as of mid-December. All of the new things added for your build. Wait, what's that? I forgot about all the new guns added? Oh yeah. How many were added again? Here we go again. The MX63 LMG is actually a free gun added to the base collection, and it does as good as a job that an LMG should, with it being great on heists with long sightlines and camping locations, but of course with it being heavy, having whack handling, and a longer reload time. High B tier. The other free gun added being the Tribune 32 machine pistol, making it the only automatic secondary for now, and it's a pretty neat thing. And although it does like 0 damage, the Tribune is extremely good since it's the first and only automatic secondary, making it a must if you use a marksman or long range primary like the 900S or the SA. Low A tier, for now. And now moving on to the DLC guns, the fake 22 TLR kind of sucks. Despite it being very spammy and having high accuracy, it feels like you need 5 bullets just to put down a single cop, and even if you have godlike accuracy, your skills will be better used with the SA. High D tier. Luckily, the other syntax error primary might just be the most fun gun in the game. The FSA 12 gauge is an automatic shotgun that is so satisfying to use on a gunslinger build. I have never been this deadly when using a primary this reckless in a while, and it easily makes it the best shotgun so far in Payday 3. Easily deserving of S tier. The last gun added with syntax error is the War 45 SMG, and it's a pretty solid choice. Better than any SMG in the base game, but nothing too flashy or special. High B tier. The boys in blue gun start off strong with my beloved ATK-7, an absolute laser of an SMG with a crazy good rate of fire and virtually 0 recoil. There really is no downside to it besides its lower damage, but with its high fire rate, my bias takes it all the way to high A tier. The RG5 is somewhat similar to the ATK with its recoil and accuracy. Although with the RG5 obviously doing more damage with a larger range, it is a lot more clunky and it is pretty inaccurate if you aren't firing in bursts. High B tier. And for the first DLC sidearm is the Bull Kick 500. And although this gun should be right up my alley, it's almost too much for me. Don't get me wrong, this gun is crazy fun to use, able to one-shot basically everything with a decently placed shot, but my goodness, the recoil on this thing makes it so unreasonable to me. Although, that doesn't stop me from having a good time with it. Low B tier. Going into the Houston Breakout guns, the Chenet S3 is a burst weapon, which automatically means it's ass. But for real though, the S3, for as accurate as it is, has very little stopping power when going against more than 2 cops that aren't far away, making it only really usable in long hallways or distance away. Mid-C tier. The M7 is honestly a massive meme weapon to me. I mean, it's a burst shotgun. Why does this exist? That doesn't mean it's bad, it's just impractical. It's still usable of course, but only on super tight maps where you're basically running into cops. Personally, not my cup of tea. High C tier. The sidearm for Houston Breakout is another fucking burst, god damn it! It isn't that bad thankfully, with its main upside mostly being to how quick this thing is and how easily it can stun cops. Not a bad gun, but really only better than the base sidearms at least. B tier. And for the final 3 guns added with Fear and Greed, comes another shotgun with the TAS 12. And this is a dirty shotgun. The task has massive stopping power and damage, at the cost of a longer recovery time and pretty inconsistent kill shots as well. This makes the task pretty frustrating to use, and for me, only slightly better than the M7. Low B tier. Now this is a great secondary. The Jackknife SE5 is almost too good, honestly. With great damage and good fire rate, it's almost like it's good because you have to pay for it. Surely not, right? This makes the Jackknife fall to high A tier. Easily the best semi-automatic sidearm. And finally, the Garstini Viper 50 caliber Action Express. Or, of course, just a damn Deagle. And my god, I love this thing. I almost feel like I'm cheating on the Castigo, but damn, this gun just feels so good to use. I don't even have much to say, as the footage speaks for itself. So, sorry Castigo, you've been dethroned. Easy S tier. And now, that's every new piece of equipment ranked. But this tier list feels super outdated, especially with me having played so much more Payday 3. Let's just... There we go. Here's a slight change like if you at all care. As now... we can move on. I don't think I need to be the one to tell you how people feel about Payday 3 in general. And although I was pretty optimistic in my general review, and I still mostly am, it becomes very clear that with every new update added, Starbreeze will either A. completely botch a really cool idea with poor execution, B. add something that, although is a neat or a good addition, is ultimately useless and ignores much larger issues, or C. Like I said, continuing to ignore the glaring flaws baked into Payday 3 that are still present over a year since its launch. Let's take the DLC Heist for example. In all four, there are really cool ideas and objectives present. However, the biggest thing I noticed is that it feels like all the really cool stuff and attention went into the stealths for these heists, never for Loud. This kind of opened my eyes when I realized this, as it's very clear that the majority of Payday fans prefer Loud over stealth, since, you know, that's where you do all the shooting and stuff. And it's unfortunately here where Payday 3 really fumbles the bag. I first noticed it when watching another review on Payday 3, that being Unintelligible's scathing look at Payday 3's heist as a whole. I strongly recommend watching it if you haven't, as absolutely nothing is held back when it comes to his criticisms of Payday 3's heist. And although I agree with several points he made, I noticed just how different our base views of the heist are, since it's quite clear that Unintelligible is quite the Loud enjoyer for Payday, while I find myself more as a stealth enthusiast. The reason why I bring this up is that this review perfectly sums up the Loud heist in Payday 3, with them being boring, uninspired, and overall forgettable. However, the same can't be said about stealth, as not only is stealth in Payday 3 so much more enjoyable compared to Payday 2, but it feels like stealth has had so much more effort put into it compared to Loud, as what makes a good stealth heist compared to a good Loud heist are wildly different. In a good stealth heist, you can expect several ways to get to an objective, solving small unique puzzles, and seeking through interesting map layouts that make every stealth heist or run feel unique. However, a good Loud heist requires one thing that Payday 3 unfortunately lacks: spectacle. This is what makes so many Payday 2 Loud heists so memorable, whether it be dropping a massive piggy bank on Big Bank, using a blimp to lower the BFD on Golden Grin, skydiving and stealing massive money bundles in Birth of Sky. I mean, cool shit happens all the time in Payday 2 Loud heist. And what do we get in Payday 3 Loud? This problem really shows in the DLC heist, with the only exception kind of being Boys in Blue, as Loud for these heists honestly kind of suck. As even when the objectives do deviate from stealth in a unique way, like in Syntax Error with us blowing up a wall to make a new escape, it's immediately wasted by having us go to an empty venue in daytime while waiting for Bile. I mean, imagine a Syntax Error took place during a concert like a Alesso heist in Payday 2, and maybe having like the outside noise or music playing to the heist theme, and you can even have the concert be evacuated when the alarm goes off. The heist can play as normal, but instead of blasting into an empty venue, say like you blast directly into the backstage of this concert, and you have to light a flare on the main stage as the concert lights and music swells for the grand final police push, as you and your fellow heisters do a final stand on the main stage until Bile finally comes in at the last minute. Just, I don't know man, everyone just wants something at least a little bit memorable or cool. It shouldn't be that hard. The only DLC heist that does this a little is Boys in Blue, with blowing up the wall and using the tow truck being pretty neat. Although, this is the exception, unfortunately not the rule. I mean, just comparing Payday 3's Loud heist to Payday 2's doesn't even feel fair, especially between the two Breakout loud heists. As, I mean, in Hoxton Breakout, not only do we get a cool as hell cinematic that ties directly to the game, followed by an intense loud heist full of police barricades and obstacles in day 1, followed by immediately driving into the Department of Justice in DC just to find evidence on who ratted out Hoxton, to this. It's such a shame, man. The Payday community as a whole deserves so much better, and especially with how linear these heists can be, I wish there was a way to spice up these heists and make them more replayable. Like, if you could choose a different escape or breaching option. If only... Yeah, it's time to complain about the lack of pre-planning again. I'll spare you all another angry rant, as I already did that in my previous review. But, how are we, a full year into Payday 3, and there's been no change or fix to the horrible pre-planning system? The only thing I've seen is Starbreeze having specific favors for heists being tied to a specific heist on completion, so less gambling, woohoo! But still missing the overall point. So instead of being angry, I'll instead do a little slideshow presentation for Starbreeze as to why some variation of Payday 2's pre-planning needs to be added. Alright, starting off with the obvious, pre-planning makes any heist more replayable, as a heist with multiple different breaching and escape routes is a great incentive for players to replay a specific heist, as maybe forcing players down a linear path will leave many not liking said heist. As, are you really going to look at me with a straight face and say that the basic escape for Golden Grin or Bank Bank are fun or enjoyable? No! So, instead, I pick a much closer escape option at the cost of having other points in the heist to be less tweaked for my liking. The reason why this is important leads us to point number 2. Giving players more options of how to play your game is always good. This is something Payday 2 does extremely well, with a wide range of builds, guns, equipment, and favors to choose from. A big reason why the game still has a healthy player count, besides just being a really fun game. And I know that Starbreeze already agrees with me, as their upcoming Armory 2.0 update that was delayed promises exactly this, more player options to give us more freedom in our builds. So if Starbreeze is willing to give players more freedoms for our builds, why not our heist? And, I mean, there's a reason why my favorite heists nearly all have pre-planning, but the last quick reason as to why pre-planning needs to be added to Payday 3 is just that it makes this heist simulator feel a lot more authentic. And I know that no one really used the market tool in Payday 2 seriously, but it felt really cool to place equipment in areas you'll know you'll be at and come across, as well as opening up entire new strategies for stealth heists. I mean, just looking at a heist like Shadow Raid says it all, with me being able to invest in certain favors that allow for an easier time to breach the sewers, the warehouse, or the main shipping container floor. Almost as if, like, I was planning a heist. Alright, presentation over, and although it is super disappointing that pre-planning has been added, there have been some good changes that came from Operation Metabag, which was basically just a long chore list of things that the devs wanted to implement. The first big change that I wanted that was actually added was CrimeNet, or basically just a server browser, a long overdue feature that was accompanied with a neat new UI that's way better than what we originally had. There's also the new feature of an offline mode, something that spawned from Payday 3's terrible launch, and it's kind of neat. I mean, it's not a true offline mode, with you still needing to have internet access to log into Starbreeze Nebula, and with the mode needing to use your PC to host the server. But I appreciate the effort nonetheless. It at least shows that Starbreeze is willing to listen to its audience. Whoever is left of it anyways. Another big thing to mention that was actively being changed in the making of my general review were difficulty modifiers. These are new variables that were introduced in the higher difficulties, with the original modifiers being the leading guard and Titan cameras, as I went over in my previous review. And for a short while, Starbreeze actually added a bunch of other modifiers for both loud and stealth, from allowing two types of the same enemy to spawn in, to making hacking cameras worthless with Cerebus Core, and even replacing the camera operator with an AI that can't be shut down. These were also on a rotation every week for a good while, until recently where now, modifiers are fixed for a specific heist. And with Starbreeze looking to rework modifiers down the road, they'll most likely end up as optional modifiers for bonus rewards. This is probably the best thing to do with them in my opinion, as it could be a fun way to challenge players with these new variables being similar to Crime Spree in Payday 2. I mean, you can even tie in pre-planning with this by maybe having a modifier that doesn't allow you to use any kind of pre-planning for an increase in XP or cash payout. There have also been some more notable additions besides some smaller balance changes, buffs, and even some bug fixes that really should have never been there in the first place. These new neat small additions are features like being able to grab and use health kits and a new armor repair kit to use as consumables. Also, now being able to pause the online game of every players on the menu, new cosmetics that are consistently added, and even daily challenges for a steady supply of C-stacks. This came along with probably Payday 3's biggest change, with that being the complete rework of the progression system and deletion of every single challenge. Why? Starbreeze. The issue wasn't the challenges. The issue is that you made the challenges the only way to progress. These challenges or milestones could have easily stayed and instead just reward extra IP, C-stacks, skins, or cash. I mean, it worked with Payday 2 just fine, as I kinda missed the crazy amount of achievements Payday 2 had. All 1,328 of them. And thankfully, more changes are on the way, with the Armor 2.0 update coming this spring as I mentioned before, a massive overhaul of the weak and unpopular armor system currently in place, and an overhaul of the overkill weapon system, which at least shows that Starbreeze hasn't given up yet. I hope. Well, that was a nice good old positivity. But, unfortunately, since we are dealing with Payday 3, we have to talk about something that I glossed over in my previous review. That being just how dreadful this weapon progression system is. Holy hell, is it awful. Originally, I thought it was fine. It's a system I've been conditioned with due to other first-person shooters. But it just doesn't work for Payday. Two main problems arise from this current system. The first being just how long it takes to max out a single weapon, as weapon XP is granted for heist completion, not actually using the gun. So, I made it my duty to find a heist that not only gives good weapon XP, but can also be finished lightning fast. I decided to stick with 30's, a core heist I was already very familiar with. And with the giving just over 2,000 weapon XP for each overkill stealth completion, well, remember what I said in my previous review? As, once you really get to know the heist, it can be done in around 7 to 8 minutes. Well, let's just say that I got pretty good at 30's. I learned some strats, got really good at them, and eventually got so bored of doing the same heist over and over again that I learned a speedrun route for 30's Overkill, where I ended up fucking around a little bit and ended up with a top 3 time in the solo overkill category. And although me learning how to speedrun for the first time was unnecessary, it was nice to take a break for this chore that, in total, took around 40 hours just to max out every single gun. Why do I keep doing this to myself, man? Now, this chore is something that I wouldn't recommend to anyone, as the grand reward for maxing out a gun leads us to the second problem with this system. The horrible rewards for leveling up a gun. Now, I'm not trying to hate on gun attachments. The ones you get in Payday 3 are pretty neat, and there is some semblance of customization for what you want a gun to be. But, compared to Payday 2's customization, and well, come on, man. Is stealth really the only true thing that Payday 3 is better than Payday 2 at? Like, why do you keep doing this to yourself, Starbreeze? Does it feel that good to keep shooting yourself in the foot to the point that you're walking on 2 bloody stumps? The damage this game has done to itself is almost unbelievable, and that's not even mentioning the same issues that are still baked into the game. Whether that be the atrocious enemy AI, server and connection issues, and of course the usual Starbreeze jank. But I think that covers everything I wanted to say about Payday 3 Year 1. A complicated mess of minted good additions and fixes, but this is still a sinking ship, and there's many holes to plug still. But I've used up too much of your time already, dear viewer, so let's do another roll call. I know I just said this 4 months ago, but that was with a greatly outdated script made in January of that year, and like I said in the beginning of this video, I really hope this isn't the last yearly rant up for this game. So, now it's time once again for the question of, would I recommend Payday 3 to people? Well, yeah, the answer is still no. Even with a whole year of slow but steady improvement, Payday 3 is still nowhere near the game advertised when the game trailers first came out, or when gaming YouTubers started glazing it. I would only recommend this game if it's on sale, say like the current Steam winter sale as of writing this, if you have some buddies to play with, or if you really like Payday 2 stealth like me. Other than that, I still recommend the Ignorance is Bliss route. This game most likely still needs a good 2 to 3 years in the game development oven before I even personally recommend it to people. And who knows if the game or if its servers will last that long, given its dreadful player numbers or with how shaky the future of this game still looks. But I'd really hate to end this video on such a doom and gloom outlook. It just isn't in my nature. If I had to see the good in this, I at least appreciate seeing the devs not give up on Payday 3 yet. I mean, how many other big game studios close their big game servers after like 1 or 2 weeks after a flop opening? Hopefully this wasn't just Starbreeze being forced to make new content for fulfilling DLC orders. I really want this game to have a future and to get better as both a fan of the Payday series and as a content creator who has spent way too much time in this game and in DaVinci making videos for what many people already consider a failed game. But alas, I'll still be here day or night for the fate of Payday 3. And call me delusional all you want, but I really do think this game will slowly rise from the ashes of this horrible launch. The Starbreeze team is full of talented and passionate individuals who really do care about Payday as much as their higher-ups care about milking this franchise for all of its worth. And I just know that if Starbreeze puts all of their teams together, puts in 100% effort, and just lock in for these updates, Payday 3 will improve. What do you mean they just put 25% of the workforce at Payday into PUBG? What the fuck? Just got done editing this. Oh my goodness, this took way too... Motherfucker.